Hi all, I'm just coming on here and I'm going to do a quick video on step one. Well, I'm doing it on my understanding of step one, so I'm going to give a few little tidbits of what I kind of like, how I came to kind of like understand it and came to actually be able to do the step one. I mean, the initial one that we admitted we were powerless over alcohol or drugs, that our lives had become unmanageable. That's what they say is the step. And how to do that? Well, for me, I went into treatment after many years of trying in every sort of possible way to stop, and I went into treatment, and it was there in treatment that I was introduced to the 12 steps, and introduced to the step one. I remember was there for about a month, and we had to do 5 of the steps in within that month. So I didn't get a full understanding there, because by the time I reached the heard or could take in information into my brain, by the time I got into recovery, my brain was gone so small. I mean, my mind was just from my house to the dealers, to the money, to the back, to the sickness, to the money, to the dealers and back. That's all my head was full of daily. Yeah. So there wasn't, reading out what I just read to you did not kind of like, it couldn't sink in. I couldn't grasp what it meant for me. Yeah. But I still wrote out all of these lists as we were instructed to do, like, write out about 30 times how many times I was powerless over the drug of my choice, or the drink of my choice, and write out ways I lost my power over it. Now, yes, very well, I was able to do that. I was able to write out, I was able to come to write out memories that were my own truth, that were real, that happened in my life, that were my experiences. Yeah, and I was able to write them out. But the thing that I didn't grasp when I first done step one was the subtle, the kind of like the part underneath it where it's like, yeah, I've done all of them, but when I was drunk, anybody who was drinking much as I do would do all them things or whatever. Yeah, because when I was doing them, I didn't feel powerless. So to me, they were just, anybody could do them. It wasn't until I started to actually see subtly how I was powerless. For example, for me, it was like, let's talk about my drug addiction first. My drug addiction, first of all, was I'd wake up in the morning, and even before I got out of bed, even before I opened my eyes, addiction was already dominating my body. Yeah, I had hot sweats, I was achy, I was runny nose, and all the usual stuff. I was already in physical withdrawal. So the minute I became conscious, the minute I opened my eyes, I didn't choose my thoughts. I didn't choose, oh, I'm going to sit here and think about going on holiday next year, or I'm going to sit and whatever. I didn't have that choice, because the minute I opened my eyes, my brain was on, how can I fix what was going on in my body? How can I score? How can I get the drug, get the money, get the what, do all the bits and pieces before my stomach was go. I was always scared. For me, it was always scared of the stomach going, because it would take me so much longer to get out of the house to be able to score. So, what I'm trying to say was, I missed that part. In all the parts of me writing out I was powerless because I'd done this and I said I wasn't going to do it, and then I was drinking. The more drink I had, the more drugs I used, then I'd done it. Yeah, but writing all them out, I didn't see the subtle part of where the powerlessness was already in me. Yeah, from my very first thought. My very first thought was consumed with how I was going to use, with how I was going to get out of being sick. That's what it was. And at the very end, my thoughts weren't on, you know, let's get high or anything like that. That was well years gone for me. So the reality was my mind has shrank to such a point of where the only thoughts I had was using and trying to get myself back to sleep. That's all it was. That's this whole circle that was going around. And by the time I came into the rooms, even physically, I was so shrunk. I used to have to put 2 towels in the bath just to have a bath because I was so bony. So, not only physically, but mentally, I started to recognize what they were talking about, powerless. I was, I didn't choose to wake up every morning. I didn't choose to wake up in the morning and start having to think about drugs or having to think about drink. I woke up in the morning and I was already in the compulsion. I was already in something that was bigger than me. And any time that I tried to put it out of my head, say, well, just stop thinking about that, let's just get up, it was back in my head. Quicker that I put it out and say, I'm not going to think about that for a minute, I'll be back thinking about it. The control was not within me. So I think my tip is like this, yeah. For me, I needed the meetings. I needed to do the 19 to 90. And the reason for that, as I said, my mind has really gone small by the time I'd come in. So I needed somewhere to go, and I couldn't sit home on my own because, again, like I said, the obsession was too big. And I couldn't sit around normal people. Even going for a drink with normal people was too much. It was just too, it was too much. End story. It was too much. So I needed somewhere to go, and I needed somewhere that I could actually see people like me, because that was the first time I actually ever identified with people like me. And how I identified actually was I would listen to people and they'd what you call it in the meetings, and I think to myself, they think like me. Oh my God, I thought of that, or oh, I felt that way, or I kind of got I could recognize myself in these people, and I'd never done that in my school life, all through my life, right into adult life. I never had that. I always had a feeling that was different anyway. So listening in the meetings to people that are actually thinking like I did, that's what kept me in the meetings. And it was there then that I learned also to write out to become willing actually to even get to do the steps. Or it's compulsory in the thing, but at the same time I could have just scattered any writing. But what for me, my obsession that I had on the drugs and drink went over to the program. Thank God. And I needed that. I needed to become obsessed with the program because the other obsession was too big, and my mind at that stage was only obsession mind. It wasn't. I didn't have like breaks in between, so that's how I operated. So anyhow, get back to the fact of I wrote down in the things about all the things I was done powerlessness. And it wasn't until I started to realise what did they mean by what powerless actually meant. And when I started thinking to myself, well, hang on a second, how did I wake up in the mornings? You know, what was my thought process in the mornings? One. Number two, how did I physically feel in the morning? This I'm talking about people that are in drug addiction. I'm talking to you now. In the fact of, right, I woke up in the middle of withdrawal and I woke up in an obsession. So did I choose to wake up in that way? Fuck no, no way. I did not. So the reality of it was I didn't have choice. I was powerless when I woke up in the mornings, that my body was feeling how it was feeling, or that I was just about to have the runs, or you know, my head was going 90 to a dozen on how I'm going to get it. You know, that started to actually get into my head, written in kind of like real, my own truth, not what I was only hearing in people, because even though I identified, I still didn't have a truth about it, because when I was out there, I didn't also have the awareness of this. I didn't have the awareness, oh, I'm addicted. Oh, I'm not addicted, I mean, I'm obsessed. Oh, I'm powerless. I didn't have them thoughts. Thoughts you don't have, yeah? Well, I didn't have. But what I'm saying is that when they told me to write out all the ways of how I was powerless when I was drinking or using drugs, I wrote out experiences that I have. But because I was under the knowledge, when I was writing out the experience that I was having, that I had, I never put in the feeling of or the thought of, God, my mind's racing, I can't stop thinking, I can't choose my thoughts, you know, I tell myself stop thinking, then I'm back thinking the same thing, and then I stop again, and then I'm back again. You know, I didn't see that. I just wrote out the experience, and I didn't see the actual running, how it physically and mentally had a grip on me. I couldn't see that. So yes, it was very good to get the identification of, in the meetings of, you know, or she's done that as bad as me, or that one's done this and I know I would have done that, and you know,